So look here. All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Makar Kadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elected nation of Israel. This is going to be a lesson going into the wickedness of this world and the things that go on behind the scenes, right? The things that go on secretly that people that are trying to become rich and famous do or have to do or have done to them in order to be accepted in the realms of Hollywood and in the realms of the music industry, in the realms of the film industry, in the realms of boxing, in the realms of anything that requires you getting a mass fame, high level status, high level riches in this world, man. And this is very old, man. But this is from one of these guys that used to be in the band, the popular boy band, man, B2K, right? That was popular in like the 90s, right? Had all the young women, especially the Israelite women, screaming, wanting to be with them, right? They was very popular, man. They could dance and all that. They could moonwalk. They could sing, right? And they was very famous, man. They was very popular, right? But what comes out in this video right here, and this is from ages ago, man. This is from 9 years ago. What comes out in this video is that one of the members pretty much mentions that he had to he had to he had to sleep with men and have men sleep with him while he was, in order for him to reach certain levels in the music industry, man. And I'm not gonna play what he says, but here's the title of the video that people can come and see for themselves, man. People can come and see this for themselves, right? There's the title right there of the video. You can search it in, right? You can search that in on YouTube, and you will see and hear what he says, man. Right? But this world's sick, man, and he pretty much says what I've just said, but it goes into way more detail. If like it's proper gross, man. But these are the things that people have to do in this society in order to become famous, man. In order to become rich, right? Because Esau makes people have to do this stuff in order to give them power. So therefore, other people are not going to accept nobody else not doing these things in order for them to get power. And there's also a video on the internet, man, where Rick Ross signs Meek Mill. You know what? I'm gonna find it. Give me a second, Salakia. All right, I'm back. I found the video that I wanted to find. I'm gonna just play this. It's gonna only be like 10 seconds, man. But what you're gonna see is Rick Ross signs his part of the contract, right? And then Meek Mill signs his part of the contract without even reading it, man. And Rick Ross has a look of shame on his face that like he feels cut to the soul, man, about what he's done and what he's made Meek Mill have to be into, because he knows that he's deceived in some way Meek Mill into signing this kind of thing. But he also was hoping that Meek Mill was going to be wise enough to actually read the damn contract, man. And if you look at all the stuff that's gone on with Meek Mill right now, you can see the end result of what's happened with him, right? He's not famous no more. He's not popular or in the limelight anymore, right? He's not famous. He's not famous like that anymore, man. And before I play this video, in fact, you know what, I'll play the video first and then I'll get a scripture, man. I'm only going to play like 10 seconds of this clip anyway.
It's a message. No, it's a message, bro. I live by the cold wardrobe from around the globe. All I need is a kilo and apron, show me the stove. General electric perfected cooking them O's. No more peanut butter sandwiches. Now we look. He
said that's crazy. Meek Mill just took the contract straight away, signed it straight away, and then Rick Ross said out loud, that's crazy, because he's like, man, he didn't even read the damn contract. And brothers have already put this video out there, but it's a video that's a good clip to show people into how this world goes down, man. And each of these rappers had their individual situation of having to sign a contract similar, right? They always had to go through these kind of bugged out things, and it's then a revolving door of wickedness to where one person's like, well, wickedness happened to me, so I'm gonna do wickedness to somebody else. And then some people get a conscience and confess about the wickedness, like that guy Raz B did. He confessed on the wickedness that he did and the wickedness that others did to him, man. But people still don't believe this stuff, and there's still been several other people that have became famous, and some people have been like, you know what? If that's all it takes to become famous, I'll do it. That's how some people think, man. Right? And because Israelites have been broke their whole life, and because they ain't got no money, All it takes is to make them do certain things like this, is to give them like 6 figures, give them a gold chain, make them be able to be popular with women, and they'll be prepared to do this stuff, man. They'll be prepared to sell their soul, man. And what do the scriptures say? What do the scriptures say? Because it might seem worth it to some of you young Jakes out there, man, and some of you people out there, but it's not worth it. This is Mark chapter 8 and verse 36. For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? What's more valuable than a man's soul? Nothing. Now let me go back to this video.
Let these niggas know too, man. This is the first day. I land the bell for Rose, Luke Fuji, man. Come and get this motherfucker.
See the guilt?
We talk to you, nigga.
You see the guilt on his face? Did you see the look of guilt on his face, man? Because the thing with the Israelite, right, is that deep down at the core of an Israelite, they're righteous, right? But there's things that happen in this world that can sway them away from their righteous ways. And let me see if I can find that scripture. It says something along the lines of, for man was made righteous nevertheless through envy, but the ways of his wicked seduceth him, or something like that. But the ways of the wicked. Let me try and find this scripture, man. Let me try and find this scripture. Salakia. It says something along the lines of, but the ways of the wicked seduceth them. You see, sometimes these scriptures become elusive when we really want to hear it, man. And that's just Satan trying to stop the truth coming out, man. Salakia. I'll think of another scripture to bring out that's on the same topic. Let me go back to Mark 8 again. This is Mark chapter 8 and verse 36. For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for a soul? Because at the end of it all, it's not going to be worth. Move that off the screen, man. It's not going to be worth. It's not going to be worth all the things that you achieve, man. And just as I've said this, like an alert for some stock information came up, right? And even that ain't worth it. To make money on stocks, ultimately verse to be getting the kingdom of heaven, that ain't gonna be worth it, man. That information isn't even worth not getting into the kingdom. And that's why, even though brothers might have did certain things to do with the stock market or whatever, I might have just tried some of these things. If it was to not make money, that's good. And if it was to make money, then that's good as well, if we use the money wisely, right? And if we don't become proud, if we was to make any money from these things. But really, ultimately, we'd rather the stock market crash like it's crashing right now, and we'd get the kingdom, man. We'd rather that. Because all the stuff that's going on in this world, man, is wicked, man. It's extremely wicked, and people are doing a whole bunch of madness in order to get fame and in order to get fortune, and it ends up causing them to die, man. Let me get Ezekiel 8. This is Ezekiel chapter 8 and verse 1. And it came to pass in the 6th year, in the 6th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I sat in mine house, and the elders of Judah sat before me, that the hand of Yahweh fell upon me. Then I beheld, and lo, a lightness of the appearance of fire, from the appearance of the loins even downward, fire, and from the loins even upward, as the appearance of brightness, and as the colour of amber. And he put forth the form of a hand, and took me by the lock of mine hair. And the Spirit lifted me up between the earth and the heaven, and brought me in the visions of Yahweh to Jerusalem, to the door of the inner gate that looked towards the north. where was the seat of the image of jealousy, which provoketh to jealousy? And behold, the glory of God, the glory of the God of Israel was there. Let me read verse 4 again. And behold, the glory of the God of Israel was there, according to the vision that I saw in the plain. Then said he unto me, Son of man, lift up thine eyes now the way toward the north. So I lifted up mine eye towards the north, and behold, northward at the gate of the altar, this image of jealousy in the entry. He said furthermore unto me, Seest what they do, even the great abominations that the house of Israel committeth here, that I should go far from my sanctuary, but turn ye again, and thou shalt see greater abominations. So what Ezekiel was seeing was a vision of the wickedness that Israelites are doing behind the scenes, man. He was seeing it. And if we was to see the wickedness that's going on behind the scenes of what these famous 2/3 are doing, man, we'd be sickened, man. But when you get that camera in front of you and they can put that Hollywood glow on you, that witchcraft with the camera, it seems like, oh man, yeah, that's live, man. And you want to, they'll make the music video, they have all the pretty women in there, and you'll wish that you was in that music video. But if you was to see the things that those women have did behind the scenes, you'd throw up at what they do too, man. You'd be disgusted by them. If you was to see what your favorite musician does, you'd be disgusted. If you was to see what all these people do, you'd be disgusted, man. And back to this video, man. Let me play this again.
Niggas know we talking to you niggas for real. You know what I'm saying? They know we talking to you niggas for real. From a nigga that come from the bottom, man. 2 years ago, this is my motherfucking set. I'm hoping I don't get 20 years now. Get out, take that shit to the next level. You already know. Maybach, man. Let them know, man. There's motherfucking Maybach and a motherfucking
Let me go back.
This is my motherfucking melody.
The look on his face of disgust with himself, man, because he realizes that he's a demon after he does this, man. He really realizes how much of a wicked demon he is himself.
Man, this is the first day I land the Bells Rose Fuji, man.
Look at that. He's like, what the fuck am I doing, man? But he already knows that he's did too much already. So he's like, well, I may as well go full demon. Right? He already understands that he's did a whole bunch of madness. So the way how he sees in his mind is that I may as well carry on joining onto it all. And that's why it's not worth going into the fame, man. And there was one elder. I'm not gonna say what the elder's name was, but if people know who I'm talking about, then they know what I'm talking about, man. And he said that he wanted to be a comedian. I remember he's told his story a couple of times. He said he wanted to be a comedian, and he was gonna be like a TV show writer or whatever. And then as he was coming closer and closer to potentially achieving that, somebody sat him down that he knew or whatever, and said to him, this isn't for you. This isn't really the type of lifestyle. This industry wouldn't be for you, man, because I know you, and I know that you're not the kind of person that would want to do these things. And then after that, he found out about the truth about being an Israelite and turned away from all of that. And there's other brothers that might have that in the past, like some brothers I've heard about that there was NFL players or whatever, and they left away from that. There's certain brothers that had musical talent and turned away from that. There's certain brothers that had the skill to be world champion boxers. They had the skill to be low-level boxers, maybe English level or low-level boxers where they might have made 100,000 in America or in the UK or in France or whatever, wherever they are, right? There's certain people that had skill in art. There's certain people that had skill in filmography, right? There's certain people that had the skill to be a doctor. But Yahweh turned them all away from these things and made them turn onto him instead, because all of those men were sighing and crying for the abominations that they saw in the world. So therefore Yahweh showed his face to them and showed them what's really going on in the world. This is Ezekiel chapter 8 and verse 7. And he brought me to the door of the court, and when I looked, behold, a hole in the wall. Then said he unto me, Son of man, dig now in the wall. And when I digged in the wall, behold, a door. And he said unto me, Go in and behold the wicked abominations that they do here. So Yahweh was showing Ezekiel that there's secret chambers that the Israelites have made, where they're doing wickedness on the ground, man. That they're doing wickedness behind the scenes, away from the eyes of men. And that's the same thing that's going on in Hollywood, Hollyweird, right? That's the same thing that's going on in these parties, right? I remember the brothers over here in the UK, they said that they went to like, and they can correct me if they hear this, right? But they said something along the lines of, they went into a pub or something like that, and they saw some Israelite woman sprawled out on the table being painted by some Edomites, man. Like, this world's bogged out, man. This world is all over the place. I remember the apostles said that some like rich bankers before saw them on the street and said, "How do you know this information? We've spent billions to try and hide this information away from you." And they weren't lying or joking neither. That was true, man. That was true what they were saying. But people will hear these things and they'll think, nah, that's not what it is. Nah, that ain't true. Because these people just want to be rich and want to be famous so bad that they're prepared to say, you know what, forget if that's true or not anyway. I want the fame first, so I'm just going to do it. Verse 9, and he said unto me, go in and behold the wicked abominations that they do here. So I went in and saw, and behold, every form of creeping things and abominable beasts, and all the idols of the house of Israel portrayed upon the wall about. So they had all these different statues on the wall, right, hidden underground, that they was worshipping to, really. They was claiming to be about Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai openly in the eyes of men, but between them in a secret group, they was about some other thing, really. But to each other, the deep underground, they knew what they was really about, but they pretended to be about the Lord when it was in front of the faces of men. But really, their heart wasn't towards Yahweh. Their heart was towards these wicked abominations and these false idols, man. And it was having God, animal gods and all of this stuff, man. Just like how these rich Jakes, right, that are all in Hollywood, they're doing a whole bunch of madness away from our eyes. And occasionally, some truth gets spilled out, man, about what they're really getting up to. Like this guy Rasby mentioned, like how I can't even think of nobody from the top of my head, man, right now, other than him. But what Rick Ross was talking about there, how he looked disgusted that Meat Mill signed a contract. This is all a part of it, man. Let me carry on reading. Verse 11, and there's, in fact, verse 11, and they stood before them 70 men of the ancients of the house of Israel. So these were men that were respected, right? These are men that were respected among the house of Israel. And in the midst of them stood Jazaniah, the son of Shaphan, with every man in his censer, with every man his censer in his hand, and a thick cloud of incense went up. So they was burning incense to these false idols, man. They was doing a whole bunch of madness. Verse 12, then said he unto me, son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark? Every man in the chambers of his imagery, for they say, Yahweh seeth not, Yahweh forsaken the earth. And that's what these 2/3 in Hollywood think, man. They think, man, the Lord ain't rocking with us as a nation of Israel, so I'm gonna have to try and get things onto some other god. So then they do all these sacrifices, they do all this LGBT activity, they wear dresses, right? They do these film roles where they're just completely degrading themselves, right? Because the way our days view it is that Yahweh don't love the Israelites. That's what they think in their mind. And then we get proof on that that's how the Israelites think. This is Malachi chapter 1 and verse 1. I have loved you, saith Yahweh, yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? That's what Jake's saying. They don't think that the Lord loves them, really. They don't understand that if we was doing the right thing as a nation, then Yahweh wouldn't be punishing us. But because we did the wrong thing, that's why bad things happen to us. Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith Yahweh, yet I loved Jacob and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains in his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness? So Yahweh does love us. But a lot of these 2/3, they don't believe that and they don't understand that. And that's why they've went for the quick route to fame, the quick route to money, the quick route to being respected in the world, which is through Esau, Edom, and through worshipping of Satan, and through all these other demons and false idols and false gods, right? That's why they've went that route. But us, the Israelites, We ain't going through we're going through the proper route, man. Faith in Yahweh Shai, which is also faith in Yahweh. Trying to keep Yahweh's laws to the best of our ability and watching for prophecy for this society that's been about our destruction and about walking all over our backs, right? In order to get fame, in order to get riches. We ain't about this place, man. And anything that we do to try and get ourselves some money, whatever, our daily bread, well, we'd rather this whole society crumble tonight, right now, than have this. But we understand and know that Yahweh's got certain prophecies that he wants to fulfill. And that's why we watch for these things. And that's why the more and more this stuff gets exposed and the more this stuff gets made out in the open and becomes normalized, that's when Yahweh's going to destroy this place. And let me get a scripture on that. This is 2 Ezra chapter 15 and verse 6. For wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and the hurtful works have fulfilled. This world is not righteous, man. This world is wicked beyond measure, man. And only people that sigh and cry for the abominations that are done in the midst are going to escape out of these things. This is Ezekiel chapter 9 and verse 4. And Yahweh said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. And to the others he said in mine hearing, Go ye after him through the city, and smite, let not your eyes spare, neither have ye pity, slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children, and women, and come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. Then they began at the ancient men which were before the house, because the ancient men was the ones that were supposed to be guiding the younger men to righteousness, like what Eleazar did. I believe that's his name in Maccabees, the 2nd chapter of Maccabees. I mean, no, not the 2nd chapter of Maccabees, 2nd Maccabees, and I believe it's the 6th chapter, or the 4th chapter, where he didn't want to accept eating of the pork and said, nah, I'll rather die than do that. But these ancient men that I mentioned in Ezekiel the 8th chapter, they wasn't doing that. They was doing wickedness behind the scenes, and then when it would have came to the doctrine of the laws of Yahweh and to the moral code of Yahweh, they wouldn't have been trying to follow it properly. Just like them two demons in the book of Susanna, where they wanted to commit adultery with her, right? And they said, either commit adultery with us, or we're going to say that you did it anyway. But she decided to be a righteous woman and said, I'd rather not do it than and you lie and say that I've did it, than for me to actually do it, and then you don't say that I've did it. And then they ended up getting judged anyway, and they ended up getting put to death. Like they planned for her to get put to death, man. And them two demonic guys had cause for loads of other women to be led into a snare, because they tricked and manipulated loads of other women to do that, when you read that story in the book of Susanna. This world's wicked, man. And until the Israelites become in power, it's always going to be wicked. People are always going to be going off and being bogged out, man. The people are always going to be selling their soul for a dance contract, for a rap deal, until Yahweh Shai enters into the atmosphere and crumbles all of this. And that's why, like the Apostle Gabar recently did a video on it, if you're rich in this society, or if you're famous or successful in this society, then you're a child of Satan. And that's true, because how could you become rich and famous in a world that's about promoting the wicked if you ain't wicked yourself? The scriptures say the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So if you've got a big portion of this earth, you're wicked. Job chapter 9 and verse 24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? So if you get a portion of the world that's wicked, that's because you're wicked. The scriptures say that if you was of the world would love its own. So if the world loves you, right? If when you go through the world, people are treating you like it's a flipping Hollywood production, like it's a slow-mo, you're clicking your fingers and pointing at people, handing out high fives, you know, the high five where you high five them forwards and then put your hand behind your back and then they high five you behind. If you're doing all them special handshakes, you're just a cool dude, you know. Everybody loves you. You're a man of the people in this wicked world. That's because you're wicked. Because the scriptures are clear that if you was of the world would love its own, but because you're not of the world rejects you. Right? That's what it says, right? Let me read this. This is 1 John chapter 2 and verse 15. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world passeth away, and the lust thereof, but he that doeth the will of God abideth forever. So this society is going to crumble anyway, so there's no point trying to dive into this place and become famous and be a star around here. Because this place is wicked, man. And following and trusting in it is going to lead you into a heavy snare, man. And as I already, like I said anyway, man, those 2 videos, you can play them for yourself. The Meek Mill one, just type in on Google. In fact, let me show what, here's the title of that one, right? It's called Rick Ross Signs, it's called Rick Ross Signs Maybach, Rick Ross Signs Meek Mill to Maybach Music Group. And you know what, in fact, give me a second, I'm going to show you what the end of Meek Mill ended up being because of all of this anyway. 1 second. All right, I'm back again. I'm just going to play this video. I wanted to just show, like, Meek Mill did all that, joining up for a record deal, spitting like he's some hardcore, hardened criminal, right? But look at what the end of it was. Like, that video was from 11 years ago. This one's from a year ago. And let's just play it.
Oh, it did! Why are you doing bunny hops, Meek? Because you got your ass beat in tennis. You got your ass beat. Keep going. Count out loud.
You end up doing bunny hops for an Edomite. You know what I mean? For some LGBT freaky blood drinking devil, right? That's what you did all that for. Was it worth it? Like, if we would have been in ancient Israel, man, and King David and the mighty men would have seen Israelites like this, we already know what they would have did, man. They wouldn't have been made to live. They wouldn't have been made to live, man. And Israelites like this are going to be ashamed in the kingdom of heaven. They're just going to be a normal, everyday Israelite, man. And if we're not careful ourselves, right, and if we end up taking the MOTB, we're not going to be no better than these people, man. We're going to get destroyed the same way how these people will. And that's why it's so scary, man, to believe in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. And that's why it's a thin line, man. That's why it's a straight gate. Because you don't want to steer to the left or to the right, man. And I'm going to end the lesson there. All praises to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, B'Shem Makar Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. And shalom to the elect to the nation of Israel. Shalom.